Okay, so I'm videotaping this. Today is Tuesday, July 23rd, and I have been reading the report on the investigation into Russian interference in the 2016 presidential election, Volume 1 of 2. Special Counsel Robert S. Mueller III. And it was submitted pursuant to 28 C.F.R. 608C, Washington, D.C., March 2019. Tomorrow evening, Robert Mueller will meet with the United States Congress and another committee in regards to the Mueller report. Now, Robert Mueller said he was only going to talk about the matter, and he gave us his spill, and he said he would not do this again. But he's been subpoenaed by the judicial as well as Congress to come in and answer questions about the Mueller report. So I thought it is in our best interest to actually read the report. Now, there are some redacted in the report. However, I'm going to read, and I'm going to read this report. There'll be videos of me reading this report to you, because I just feel that we need to know exactly what's going on. So I'm going to read the report, and you'll have inserts of this report today up until the actual interview with Robert Mueller. In my understanding, it's like 8:30 Central Standard Time, 8:30 a.m. However, I'm going to start reading the Mueller report, and as I said, I will be posting several videos of the report, of me reading the report, excuse me. So, this is Introduction to Volume 1. This report is submitted to the Attorney General pursuant to 28 CFR 608C, which states that at the conclusion of the special counsel's work, he shall provide the Attorney General a confidential report explaining the prosecution or declination decisions the special counsel reached. The Russian government interfered in the 2016 presidential election in sweeping, systematic fashion. Evidence of Russian government operations began to surface in mid-2016. In June, the Democratic National Committee and its cyber response team publicly announced that Russian hackers had compromised its computer network. Releases of hacked materials, hacks that public reporting soon attributed to the Russian government, began that same month. Additional releases followed in July through the organization WikiLeaks, with further releases in October and November. In late July 2016, soon after WikiLeaks' first release of stolen documents, a foreign government contacted the FBI about a May 2016 encounter with Trump campaign foreign policy advisor George Papadopoulos. Papadopoulos had suggested to a representative of that foreign government that the Trump campaign had received indications from the Russian government that it could assist the campaign through the anonymous release of information damaging to Democratic presidential candidate Hillary Clinton. That information prompted the FBI on July 31st, 2016, to open an investigation into whether individuals associated with the Trump or campaign were coordinating with the Russian government in its interference activities. That fall, two federal agencies jointly announced that the Russian government directed recent compromises of emails from U.S. persons and institutions, including U.S. political organizations, and these thefts and disclosures are intended to interfere with the U.S. election process. After the election in late December 2016, the United States pause. After the election in late December 2016, the United States imposed sanctions on Russia for having interfered in the election. By early 2017, several congressional committees were examining Russia's interference in the election. Within the executive branch, these investigative efforts ultimately led to the May 2017 appointment of Special Counsel Robert S. Mueller III. The order appointing the special counsel authorized him to investigate the Russian government's efforts to interfere in the 2016 presidential election. Including any links or coordination between the Russian government and individuals associated with the Trump campaign. As set forth in detail in this report, the special counsel's investigation established that Russia interfered in the 2016 presidential election, principally through two operations. First, a Russian entity carried out a social media campaign that favored presidential candidate Donald J. Trump and disparaged presidential candidate Hillary Clinton. Second, a Russian intelligence service conducted computer intrusion operations against entities, employees, and volunteers working on the Clinton campaign, and then released stolen documents. The investigation also identified numerous links between the Russian government and the Trump campaign. Although the investigation established that the Russian government perceived it would benefit from a Trump presidency and worked to secure that outcome, and that the campaign expected it would benefit electorally from information stolen and released through Russian efforts. The investigation did not establish that members of the Trump campaign conspired or coordinate with the Russian government in its election interference activities. Now, your president has been saying there is no collusion and that there was no collusion, there was no obstruction of justice. However, it clearly states introduction to the volume 1 that, I'm going to read it again. The investigation also identified numerous links between the Russian government and the Trump campaign. Numerous. Although the investigation established, they made an association. So, when you say establish, there have been in existence for a long time and therefore recognized and generally accepted is what it means to establish something. So, where it says, although the investigation knew this had been in existence for a long time and therefore recognized and generally accepted that the Russian government perceived it would benefit from a Trump presidency and worked to secure that outcome, and that the Trump campaign, expected it would benefit electorally from information stolen and released through Russian efforts. The investigation did not establish that members of Trump campaign conspired or coordinated with the Russian government in its election interference activities. So they could not establish that they conspired or coordinate, but they did see, or they did establish, that Russian government perceived if they got involved, so from the evidence they found, it was established that Russia perceived it would benefit from a Trump presidency and work to secure that outcome. That's why they were meeting with, and it was well documented that they had interactions with the Trump campaign. Numerous links. That is a fact. But they did not establish that members of the Trump campaign conspired or coordinate. So they didn't conspire or coordinate, but surely they expected to benefit. So it wasn't like they knew this was happening and they said, oh, we don't want to be a part of this, we got to tell somebody. No, they knew about it and were happy because they felt they would benefit. I'm going to continue reading. In this article, it says, in this report, it says, below, we describe the evidentiary considerations underpinning statements about the results of our investigation and the special counsel's charging decisions, and we then provided an overview of the 2 volumes of our report. So we see that they are going to give us evidentiary considerations and underpinning statements about the results. The report describes actions and events that the Special Counsel Office found to be supported by the evidence collected in our investigations. In some instances, the report points out the absence of evidence or conflicts in the evidence about a particular fact or event. In other instances, when substantial, credible evidence enabled the office to reach a conclusion with confidence, the report states that the investigation established that certain actions or events occurred. A statement that the investigation did not establish particular facts does not mean there were no evidence of those facts. So clearly, when it says, and we go back to paragraphs where it says, although the investigation established that the Russian government perceived to benefit from a Trump presidency and worked to secure that outcome, and that the campaign expected it would benefit electorally from information stolen and released through Russian efforts, the investigation did not establish the members of the Trump campaign conspired or coordinated with the Russian government in its election interference activities. And if we go back to the prior paragraph, it clearly says, the report says, a statement that the investigation did not establish particular facts does not mean there were no evidence of those facts. So basically, they could not comfortably or with confidence make a conclusion. So they didn't. But just because they did not establish particular facts does not mean there were no evidence of those facts. Continue. In evaluating whether evidence about collective action of multiple individuals constituted a crime, we applied the framework conspiracy law, not the concept of collusion, because collusion... I'm good. Thank you. I was distracted. Sorry. In evaluating whether evidence about collective action of multiple individuals constitute a crime, we apply the framework of conspiracy law, not the concept of collusion. So all the while, the president's going, there's no collusion, there's no collusion. Even though collusion was invoked from the Attorney General, from that president, Donald Trump, all of those collusion, here's what the report says. In so doing, the office recognized that the word collude was used in communications with the acting Attorney General concerning certain aspects of the investigation scope, and that the term has frequently been invoked in public reporting about the investigation. But collusion is not a specific offense or theory of liability found in the United States Code, nor is it a term of art in federal criminal law. So they were looking at a criminal side, and what they said is, when you collude, that is not a code. That is not an offense or theory of liability that is found in the United States Code. And what their office was looking at when they bring in their facts together, again, they said that this term collude or collusion was not found in the United States Code, nor is it a term of art in federal criminal law. So for the president to say no collusion, no collusion, no collusion, it's not even a term. They won't even consider collusion. Collusion isn't what the special counsel was looking at. They looked and determined that there was some conspired or coordination with Russia. That's what was set forth in the report and was established. And they did that through social media and computer intrusion, like they stole emails and stuff from various members in the Democratic Party and posted those things to shine a bad light on Hillary Clinton. I'm going to continue with the report. But collusion is not a specific offense or theory of liability found in the United States Code, nor is it a term of art in federal criminal law. For those reasons, the office focused in analyzing questions of joint criminal liability was on conspiracy as defined in federal law. Was there some conspiracy? And again, the Trump campaign was initiated by Russia, but they went along with it. Now, continue. But collusion is not a specific offense or theory of liability found in the United States Code, nor is it a term of art in federal criminal law. For those reasons, the office focuses in analyzing questions of joint criminal liability was on conspiracy as defined in federal law. In connection with that analysis, we address the factual question whether members of the Trump campaign coordinated, a term that appears in the appointment order with Russian election interference activities. Like collusion, coordination does not have a settled definition in federal criminal law. We understood coordination to require an agreement, tacit or expressed, between the Trump campaign and the Russian government on election interference. That requires more than the two parties taking actions that were informed by or responsive to the other's actions or interests. We applied the term coordination in that sense when stating in the report that the investigation did not establish that the Trump campaign coordinated with the Russian government in its election interference activities. So when he says collusion, it's not even a term that's considered in the law, in the United States Code, or in the United States Code or the federal criminal law. So the report on our investing consists of 2 volumes. I'm continuing to read. Volume 1 describes the factual results of the special counsel investigation of Russia's interference in the 2016 presidential election and its interactions with the Trump campaign. Section 1 describes the scope of the investigation. Sections 2 and 3 describe the principal ways Russia interfered in the 2016 president election. Section 4 describes links between the Russian government and individuals associated with the Trump campaign. Section 5 sets forth the special counsel's charging decision. Volume 2 addresses the president's action towards the FBI investigation into Russian interference in the 2016 presidential election and related matters, and his action towards the special counsel's investigation. Volume 2 separately states its framework and the considerations that guided that investigation. I'm going to stop for now. I have read to you the introduction to Volume 1. And I will pick up within the next few hours the executive summary to Volume 1. Thank you.